everyone. Welcome to the Golden Radio Podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hello.
How's it going, GR Dad?
My butt does not hurt.
Someday my butt won't hurt, but today is not that day.
Still not that day.
I'm trying a new method of sitting for the podcast, so hopefully I won't be like, could we please be done with this podcast because my butt hurts. We'll see how it goes.
No, you're like an elementary school student. Can't sit still for more than, 40 minutes.
That was probably true in elementary school, too.
Yeah. Me, definitely.
Let's see. We're recording the podcast a day late because GR Dad spent an unexpected night in Miami.
Yeah, I don't usually do unexpected.
No.
I like to overplan, please.
Indeed. So let me do the cocktail of the week and then we'll get into that.
That was a good teaser. That's very good.
The cocktail of the week is the Witch's Brew.
No.
It's officially fall.
Yes, it's pumpkin season.
I'm sure there's many, many cocktails called the Witch's Brew, but this is one that Pinterest showed me. So it's vodka, sparkling cider, like you would drink as a kid. You know, the non-alcoholic sparkling cider.
In Germany, you just drink cider.
Yeah, well, I guess you could use sparkling alcoholic cider too.
Oh.
This doesn't specify either way.
Oh, interesting.
If you're looking for sparkling alcoholic cider, like fizzy cider, Stella Artois makes one called Cidre.
Oh, yeah, that is
It's good. It's nice and dry.
reliable, solid, nice and dry. Yeah.
You can get that at all the stores. Also, Strongbow's really good, but Cidre's really easy to find.
I think we've gotten some ciders from fans, but they're very local and harder to get
Oh,
everywhere.
and that blueberry one was so
Yeah,
good.
there's some good Maine stuff.
Yeah, I think that was one of those. Anyway, okay, so vodka, sparkling cider, ginger beer, cranberry juice, pineapple juice, and then gummy worms, which I assume is just to make it kind of witchy.
Gummy worms are good.
I'd leave the gummy worms out, but it sounds pretty good. We're drinking champagne tonight.
I'm a big Haribo fan. Still.
Do they make worms?
Oh, yeah.
You always have the bears.
Yeah, no, green and red and stuff. And they're not scary. They're tasty.
Jared Dad's mom, when she would come visit from Germany, there's a whole, 10 years we've been together, she would always bring Eva Haribo gummy bears from Germany, but you can buy them at CVS, which is like across the street from your house, but she'd always bring them.
I do this too, but she does this thing where if she finds out you like something, that will be anchored in her brain for the rest of her life as you liking it.
Yeah.
So she will... Eva will be 52 and my mom will be like, you love gummy bears. Here, you must love these.
My grandma was like that. My dad said we always used to have chop suey as a kid, which is like an American, like fake Chinese dish.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is not actually Chinese. It's like a stew. It's got watercress in it.
Stir-fry-y?
No, it's much thinner.
Not even stir-fry.
It's like a soup. It's much more like a soup.
I remember those water chestnuts, though.
Yeah. And anyway, I think she made it once, and my dad, to be nice, was like, "Oh wow, Gene, this is really good chop suey." Every damn week when I was a little kid, we had that, and I think parents were like, "Well, it's free food, like we won't turn it down."
Yeah,
I didn't like it very much. I thought the water chestnuts were really weird. Did not enjoy. Had those noodles anyway. Okay, Ingo, the list of things we have to talk about is so long and dramatic this week.
I think it's amazing that you are taking the sacrifice of your butt upon yourself for the sake of the listeners, and you're trying to make your butt last longer. That sounds terrible. You're allowing yourself to sit longer. I don't know.
It is my hamstrings, everybody, just in case you're concerned.
It's just where they connect up there is very close to the
You got to sit
the
on
butt.
them. All right. I guess we should start with hops, since that's the major news of the week. So
yeah.
As we have talked about the last few weeks on the podcast, we have been trying to get an appointment at VOSM, the orthopedic specialist up in Maryland. They did voodoo surgery. They did all of Vinkman's surgeries. They did some stuff for queso. They're great. And I was like, we need you guys to see our dog Hopper like 2 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
And they're like, okay, well, you need to fill out the new patient form. I'm like, you've seen like 5 of our dogs. And they're like, every new dog, new form. So I fill out the form. And then they call and they're like, well, we need the records. And I was like, okay, can you not get me an appointment while you're waiting for the records? No. So then I had given them the contact info. I said, fine, send them the records. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, okay, so like
You have the records.
You have the records. You got the form. And then they're like, well, we'll transfer you to our scheduling person. It's like, I remember just calling there and being like, could I please have an appointment? And they're like, sure, here's your appointment.
Because they had a calendar, like a Google Calendar.
Like the surgical coordinator, except we're not trying to get surgery.
Right.
So it's this whole thing. So we keep calling and we keep calling. You finally got a hold of her after a week and she's like, well, she only sent the thing in last week. And it's like, it's been a week. We're just trying to get an appointment on the books. So after 10 days, she finally called. I mean, she's clearly very busy, right? All the vets are very busy. So she finally calls. She didn't even say who she was. She's like, Jennifer, whatever. She gave me her name, but not where she was from. She's like, so our surgeons looked at this and this isn't what they do. So you need to find a soft tissue surgeon. And I'm like, I don't even know that we need surgery. Like, it just needs somebody to look at her. Ugh. But I was like, okay, like, they're not going to see her. We have wasted 2 weeks of Hops being in pain, waiting for them to just tell us that they won't see her, which is very frustrating. Yeah. But fine. So I'm like, okay, soft tissue surgeon. Okay. So I'm just Googling for soft tissue surgeons in South Florida because like 20 hours each way is a long way to drive, but up to Maryland, right? So like, let's find somebody here. So I find a place and I was like, I have been told I need a soft tissue surgeon, and your website says you have a soft tissue surgeon. It's like a specialty clinic. And they're like, yeah, but the surgeon is kind of like drop in. And a lot of places have this where there's like a surgeon and he or she goes around to different hospitals on different days. And so like Thursdays do surgery at this clinic. Vinks, when she had her total hip replacement, that guy's at the University of Ohio or Ohio State, I guess. And he travels all over the country and just like once a month, he shows up at VOSM and he does all the total hip replacements all day. That's what he does. And then he goes someplace else the next day and does all of them there.
Wow.
So their soft tissue surgeon is kind of a drop in there. Like, you need to see one of our regular doctors here first. I was like, great. This is Monday. Great. When can we see? And they're like, how about Wednesday at 5:30 p.m.? And I was like, we'll be there. Like,
that's great.
Put them down.
That's much better.
And 5:30 p.m. is great coming from the Keys because it's a 3-hour drive each way.
Yeah, it's against traffic in Miami too.
So Dad heads up there yesterday, and Dad is the hero of driving this last week. You've driven a lot of dogs around to a lot of places.
It's kind of fun. Today was especially a lot.
Driving. So Dad leaves yesterday afternoon, gets her up there, and then I get dialed in, which is how we always do it with this. And so this guy, he's like, I gave him the whole history. Our vet said this was a hygroma. Hygromas normally don't hurt. We've had her in the damn elbow pads for 6 weeks. Those are supposed to resolve it in 3 to 4 weeks. She's not better. She's kind of worse. Our vet just keeps telling us to treat the arthritis. Yeah. And I finally got a hold of our previous vet up in Maryland, like our regular vet up there who I'm friends with and is wonderful. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like this. And he had some ideas just, from me describing it. So I was like, all right, well, if the guy in Miami won't do anything, at least we can do what that vet said and try something. But anyway, so I ran the whole thing down and I had sent the whole description of it in before, and this guy's like, all right, well, this isn't a hygroma. Like, this doesn't look anything like a hygroma. It doesn't act like a hygroma. This is a soft tissue cancer. He's like, I'm 90% sure. And he's like, we can try to get the records. I'm like, they're the x-rays from your place, which was closed. I was like, just do more x-rays. Like, just do them right now. Yeah. And he does the x-rays. He's like, so now I'm 99% sure this is a soft tissue cancer. So we have to do a biopsy. And I'm like, how about now? And he's like, we're not doing a biopsy at 6:00 on a Wednesday night. Like, they close at 6:00. They have to put the dogs under for that. And I was like, how about tomorrow? He's like, well, I don't work tomorrow, but I am coming anyway to look at the records. I'm like, great. Volunteering Dad to stay overnight in Miami, which he had not planned or packed for.
I mean, to be fair, you said that was an option. And then you said, and I said I could also go home and then come out, leave early in the morning and come out, So it's not, you weren't volunteering me to stay. That was just one of the most logical option.
You could drive 3 hours, get back here at like 9:30 or 10, and then leave at like 4:30 in the morning.
I've done crazy things before.
would not have been shocked if you
I
had
just
done
didn't
that.
feel crazy that way. I was like, it's fine. There's really, that's a lot of driving, especially getting there at 8 o'clock in the morning is rough.
Yeah. So I had points, and you actually got to stay at the Hyatt Regency Coral Gables, which is where I was going to stay with Chegs when he was going to get his eye surgery. It's a very nice place.
It's very fancy, very aggressive room service.
Yeah, you can tell that story in a minute.
Yeah. No, it's a Coral Gables. I've never been there. It's like super nice. It's like Disney World for stores and fancy.
Yeah, they got a
grown-ups.
little town center and very swanky. Yeah, like southwest Miami suburb. It's nice.
But I had no change of anything. I didn't have
No
a toothbrush.
toothbruch.
I didn't have a comb. All the things that I kind of like to have.
To be fair, it was like a 10-minute walk to Publix.
I forgot to buy a toothbrush. I was too worried about getting food and a beer.
Did the front desk give you a toothbrush?
I didn't ask.
Oh.
Turns out I didn't ask.
Wait, you didn't brush your teeth?
Correct.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Wow.
I just drank more beer.
Well, I wasn't there. I mean, who cares? So Dear Dad stayed overnight.
With Hops.
With Hops.
Great in hotels. She
She
doesn't
really
get
is.
freaked out. She finds her spot. She's comfortable. She eats and drinks. I mean, she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
She's just very good on hotels. It's like if you could model a dog, and for purposes of the Hyatt, she's under 50 pounds.
Of course.
Of course.
I mean, I talked to them. I'm like, so can we bring the dog? And they're like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Most of them are like that, right? So anyway, so you got to stay at a fancy hotel in Miami with no change of clothes, no toiletries, no nothing, but you did get a 4-pack of beer.
Right.
And
some grocery store sushi. It was
Yeah.
on sale.
Did you eat the sushi? Because you also went to Sweet Green.
I ate everything.
Oh, that's good. Sale sushi is
I
such
also
a
went to Sweet Green.
bad choice and go.
Yeah.
You're fine, though.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hops went back this morning for a biopsy. So you'll see now on the snaps, like her leg is all shaved. They cut into the joint, took some tissue out. He's like, I'm kind of hoping that there's a big infection in there. And I was like, yeah, well, we tested for that before and treated her with antibiotics and it still came back no infection. So he's like, yeah, but then it wouldn't be cancer. And
Right.
so he went and he's like, yeah, there was no infection in there. So he's like, I'm culturing it just in case, but it looks like a tumor and it's in the joint. So this is not great news.
It's good to know, and it's good that someone figured this out, and we now have data.
I think we're both not as like shocked and sad about it because we have been so frustrated for the last okay, like it's going to take her a week or so to start showing improvement, but it's been 6 weeks since we started treating this.
Yeah, we brought her into the vet at least 3 different times saying she's still really limpy and uncomfortable and in pain. What's going on? And they didn't really either. Well, I'm very sensitive to this. I didn't feel as taken seriously as I wanted to be. But they also didn't reconsider that it was, they were just kind of like arthritis.
Yeah, and we're like, it's not arthritis. Like, it was, like, she definitely has arthritis, but that's not going to make you go overnight from being a little stiff in the morning and avoiding stairs to not putting any weight on the leg.
Yeah.
So we've been really frustrated, and our vets here are great, so it's kind of mysterious that we were not making progress. I mean, they did a bunch of x-rays.
That's right.
They kind of never got to this point. And maybe they were just thinking bone cancer, which would show up on an x-ray, and that's not what this is. So in any case, we're very relieved to just, okay, like now we basically know what this is. So we don't have a plan at this point because we have to wait for the results of the biopsy to come back. But if this is kind of what he expects, these soft tissue sarcomas, which show up in the limbs, tend to be slow-growing cancers, but they do spread. And he did a chest x-ray yesterday because you are looking then for spots in the lungs, which would mean it has spread, and that looked fine, which is good. You can't really just do surgery to remove the tumor because it needs really deep and wide margins. So you basically have to take a lot of tissue around the tumor or else the tumor comes back. And from the stuff I was reading, assuming it's the thing that he suspects it is, if you just take those tumors off, they come back. So it's not very successful surgery. And of course, doing a surgery on a joint is always messed up because the joint bends and it's hard for it to heal. So
plus taking off like half the elbow isn't really feasible.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So the kind of standard treatment for this is amputation. So we are kind of suspecting that is the path that we're going to look at, assuming, I mean, we don't know yet, right? Do we have to look for it spreading elsewhere? I mean, I don't know what we do at this point. We're just kind of waiting on the biopsy. But if all goes well, we will amputate her front right leg. And, you know, it sucks. Like, obviously we don't want to have to do that for her, but better than her being dead. You know, she does have arthritis in the elbow, so like that makes it harder, but whatever.
In the other elbow.
In the other elbow.
Well, we're removing one arthritic elbow. That's kind of good.
Yeah, that one won't hurt her anymore. You know, so it will be a modification, and you know, she'll need some extra support. But you know, I was reading stuff from other people who have had this surgery done on the front legs of their dogs who have lived for years after the surgery and been fine. So
yeah, we just need to get our elevator fixed.
The elevator.
Frickin' elevator.
Maybe next week the part will be in for the elevator.
I mean, I'm strong like a bull, but
today,
you know, that's a lot of mass.
Today I was home by myself all day, so I have been having to tend
I did
to
feel
Boots.
bad about staying in Miami in a fancy hotel and knowing that you had to lug dogs around and kick dogs up and down stairs.
So like Boots can sort of go down the stairs and I can help him, and then he doesn't want to come back up, and
he can do a lot of things that he doesn't want to do. Murder.
So I was like, Vodes, you have to come upstairs. And when he wants to go up the stairs, he'll kind of walk his front legs, and I kind of boost his back half, which I've done with many dogs whose, you know, hind limbs don't work well. Yeah. And it's fine. He did not want to come upstairs today. So I put him in the help him up harness, and I'm like, come on, you know, then I got a handle to lift up the back part. And he's like, nyeh. All legs are noodles now. Just would not.
Oh, him at dead weight is impossible.
So the help him up harness has a handle like between the shoulder blades and a handle on the butt. So I'm like, he's 95 pounds, right? So I'm like hauling like the front part up and then the back part up one step, and he's like, nyeh, noodles, leg noodles.
Caterpillar in the world.
And he just won't. I was so mad at him. I was like, just you fuck. God damn.
Because he makes no effort. He's just completely sack.
He's like, I'm laying down. No.
He's just a squishy sack of nothing.
I try to put his front legs down.
Cartilage.
He's like, noodles. So I finally get him up to the top of the stairs, and I like open the door, and I just threw him in. I was like, fuck, I hate you. I'm going to give you back. If anyone wants a food, I'm taking bids. I don't want him anymore.
And Boots is psychologically not affected by any of this
No,
abuse.
He does not care.
No, he thinks it's funny.
Right now, he's trying to chew on Guac's back leg. Guac's is just standing there. Anyway, yeah, so that's the Hopper medical situation. We should get the biopsy results back next week and then have a plan for what's next.
Poor Hops.
Which will likely be dramatic. It's very sad, but she's only 8, so hopefully... You know, there are all kinds of worse scenarios than amputating the leg, but, you know, hopefully this is a thing that we have to do, and then because she's otherwise healthy, we get a few more good years with her, and she spends a lot of time in the water. But anyway, the plan was, you know, they put him under anesthetic to do the biopsy. And so you drop him off in the morning, and they were going to do it right away, but it's a process because then they have to wake up and whatever. So like, dear Dad, all right, well, you check out time is at noon at the hotel.
So I was going to be all clever. I was going to drive from the hotel to the vet before 8.
Like 15 minutes. Yeah.
Early in the morning. Yeah, a little longer with traffic. Then just drive back to the hotel and hang out in my room that I had, you know.
Till noon.
Yeah. Till at the latest, but till noon I had the room. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, paid for it till noon.
Quite.
So I get back to the room at like 8:45, and the cleaning cart is outside my room, which is always a bad sign. And I go in the room. There's nobody in there. Everything is just tossed.
Bed is stripped.
It looks like in those gangster movies where they like toss a room. There's like, you know, sheets are stripped, pillows are strewn about, refrigerators open, trash cans are wet and upside down. It looks very dramatic.
All your stuff is gone.
My stuff's gone. Yeah,
Poop bags.
like all the stuff that I
bottle
had
opener,
set
groceries.
aside. Now, I didn't have an overnight bag because I didn't have an overnight bag, but I left some stuff in the room that I was going to go get later, like, chips for the trip and,
Yeah.
A bottle opener, a can opener for Hop's food, and I don't know exactly what else was in it. It was just in a paper sweet green bag, right?
Yeah.
All gone, all trash, all
Yep.
thrown away. And then and the cleaning lady was like, "Oh, sorry about the confusion.
Yeah, I called the front desk. I'm like, what the heck, you guys? Like,
It's his room."
he just, picked up breakfast at McDonald's and came back, and all the stuff is gone.
It's 9:00 in the morning, and you've tossed the room.
And they're like, oh, sorry, we'll...
and I did have a do not disturb on the door, and I even had the
crazy.
little hang tag that they give you, which says, "There's a dog in this room. Don't disturb, the dog in this room," because it was still up from,
That's
Hopper.
crazy.
So it was. I mean, it's just so bizarre. And she basically said, "Well, you didn't have any bags in there, so I thought you were gone."
Like, why are you... I was like, what if I were in there, asleep in the bed
Yeah.
with a do not disturb sign on, and she's just like, "You coming on in." Like, you did that? No, what are you doing?
And that's ridiculous. But that's happened to me before. This seems to be my lot in life, where I said the airline lost my luggage on a trip, and so I had to go to the hotel room with no bags, and just my, and I bought like a toothbrush or something, and I was supposed to be there for 2 nights, and they just kicked me out of the room.
Checked
Like,
you
you
out.
weren't in the room. There were no bags. I was like, yes, the airline lost my bags, actually. Thanks very much. And they're like, well, we gave your room away. You're going to have to, we'll see if we can find you some closet somewhere or something.
Did they get you another room?
Yeah, I think so. It was
Yeah.
not as good, and they cleared out like my glasses case and my contact solution, whatever else I had, in the had in my hand luggage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's beware in hotels. If you travel without a bag, they'll take that as a sign that you don't exist in that room anymore.
That's terrible.
It was frustrating, and they didn't seem these guys didn't seem to really get the magnitude.
They were not
of the,
apologetic
of the
enough.
problem. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry, what a misunderstanding. I'm like, you threw my stuff away.
Yeah.
We won't get it back. Like, yeah, sorry. No free room, nothing. I got nothing. Anyway,
Well-
but other than that, then I did have a clean room. Boy, was it clean. All removed to hang out in for another 2 hours until Hops was released.
Jerks.
And then I drove back, and then I drove to pick up Remy.
Yeah, so Remy today went up for a glucose curve, and we did a glucose curve for him on Monday, and it looked pretty good. It was like in the hundreds the whole time.
Really good.
And we were like, great, like we're going to do it, have the vet do it, do all his blood work, and then he's going to be able to get his eye surgery scheduled.
So you had to drive him.
I
'cause
drove
wasn't
him
there.
up. Yeah, I dropped him off at 8 this morning, and his blood sugar was like in the 300s, which is quite high all day. So we have to increase his insulin. Why, Remy, who's standing right here, why was it normal here and high at the vet?
He's like, I like you guys. I don't want to leave you guys to go to Miami.
So we did all of this testing, and now we gotta wait. The tests are only good for like a month before the surgery, so we're hopefully gonna get everything set so we can just do it. So I was excited that on the podcast we're gonna announce that Remy got all of his tests and he's good, and we're gonna make the appointments and get his eye surgery. No, we gotta up his insulin and try again in a week.
Just not this episode.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, it's gonna get there.
Yeah. Are we on Remy?
That's Remy. Yeah.
He's also swimming like gangbusters.
He's a big swimmer. And I'll talk more about him with the paddleboard attack
The death
topic.
the deadly paddleboard attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else do we have to talk about? Vodes is doing fine. I mean, other than being a jerk.
He's an active jerk.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the paddleboard attack.
Guac.
We have a number of paddleboard dramas, actually.
Yeah.
Chronologically, the first is the paddleboard attack. So all the dogs were out in the water, basically. And I'm going to go out for a paddle.
I tried to get a paddleboard in before you had to work.
I tried to, it was like the morning, and I was like, okay, I got to, at 45 minutes, I've got to get on this call, but I'm going to do a little paddle first. And I think I tried to get Guac on the board, and he's like, no, now everybody's here. I'm going to
There might
play.
be a ball.
Fine. So I'm like, I'm just going to go by myself. So I start paddling away, and they're all like, oh, fuck! Jen's leaving!
And it was Venk, I think.
Hops.
Yeah, definitely Hops.
Yeah.
Venk, Hops, Guac, and Remy.
And Remy. And Remy gets these big, giant, panicky looking eyes. Who knows if he's actually panicky because he's blind? Who knows? Really good at following the sound. So they all follow me out. So I'm like across the channel into, further away from the house where it gets shallow again so they can kind of stand.
50 yards away, yeah.
And they're all like, so they all get out there and they're like, we all need to get on this paddleboard. So they're like climbing up on the paddleboard and then standing on it and then like jumping off. It's like Guac and Remy are up there and Guac's like, I'm going to jump off this thing. And then like Remy gets tipped off. I, of course, have been tipped off.
Remy tried to eat it.
Remy did try to eat it. He actually took a little chunk out of there's like a padded part where you stand so your feet don't get sore.
Spit it.
He just walked up like when I was on the shore at the house and was like, pulled a little chunk out. Yeah, kept chomping on it out there. And then, like Hops and Vink are swimming around trying to get on it. So, and then they're all climbing on me. So I have like on my thighs, I've got all these bruises and scratches. I mean, it looks like I've been in a
cat, like mauled by 12 cats.
Yeah. I mean, I was mauled by all these dogs in the water.
Didn't Guac like hug your leg with his dew claws?
Oh, I mean, probably. It was chaotic
He was trying to climb up your leg, I think.
We were swimming this week, and normally I'll like, when I swim with them, I'll throw the ball, and Guac and I'll race for the ball. And I think we didn't want to do that because like Hops was getting a bath. So if I just swim away from the shore, just like kind of backstroke, like kick myself away from the shore, Guac's like, now I need to go save Jen. So he comes out to save me and I'll start swimming back in. And at some point he's like, this is unacceptable, Jen. And he puts like one front paw over either shoulder and then tries to like jump up as like I'm holding him, put his little back feet on my hips. Well, I'm not standing. I'm in the water. So that straight up dunked me. I have a big like J-shaped scratch on my shoulder from him.
From his deadly hug, his lethal hug. Tiger King.
And do I learn when Guac attempts to murder me? No, I do not. He gets so excited when I put on my swimsuit and start walking for the door.
He just wants to play. He just wants to participate.
So yesterday I'm like, all right, gonna go out in the morning, go for a paddleboard, and Guac's jumping around so excited. And I was like, fine, you can come. He generally rides pretty well on the paddleboard. So I get him up on the paddleboard. And the only things to really be wary about with a Guac on the paddleboard is that if he sees like a buoy in the water or God forbid a tennis ball, he's like, it's a ball, I must go retrieve it. And he jumps off the paddleboard and sometimes that knocks me off the paddleboard. So we're going around and it's fine. And then we're coming back and there's something floating in the water. And, there's like palm fronds floating in the water, all sorts of, stuff from trees, coconuts. And I'm like, it looks too small to be a coconut. I can't tell. I've got to be careful though because he's going to jump off. And as I get closer, I see that it's one of those giant iguanas that you see us film sometimes, dead in the water. So like its head is floating up and then, its tail, they got big long tails. I mean, they're probably 4 or 5 feet long. The tail's hanging down. It's big. I mean, the body of these iguanas is like the size of a cat.
Yeah.
They're giant.
They are big.
Who knows how it died, but it's floating in the water. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And Guac's like, I must get it. Leaps off the front of the paddleboard, and I'm screaming at him like, no. Swims over, just right in the middle of the body, chomps onto that iguana and is swimming around with the iguana corpse in his mouth. I did not fall off the paddleboard, but I'm like, don't you come back over here with that. Then I'm like paddling away. And he's like, no, wait for me. I'm like, no, like not with that rotting iguana corpse in your mouth.
Look, it's nasty. Jen, look, I got you a nasty.
Oh, it's so gross. So eventually he dropped it. It must have tasted bad. Gets back on the paddleboard. And we don't go another like 5 minutes. And there's just like a piece of a palm frond. The thing's probably like a foot square.
It's a leaf.
It's kind of like a big, thick leaf. And I think he was so wound up from the iguana that as soon as he sees that, he jumps off. That time he did knock me off. And I like keep my little sandals on the paddleboard so when we're home, I can put them on before I have to walk on the rocks because the rocks are really sharp here. So then they're both floating around. We got to like paddle around to get all of those.
He's trying to get that leaf. And I think it is a sign that you are such an optimistic person by nature that you keep trying. That's Woods.
He's outside just barking at himself. Woods! What? Woods!
He's like, I would like to get my face chomped, please. Where is the guacaman?
The other thing that I just wrote down here is Remy sunglasses, because at some point we had been out and we came back and I put my sunglasses on the table and Remy picked them up and he's like, these are awesome. And he's like, puts them in his mouth and he's like, chomp, chomp, tossing his head around, galloping around the living room. Like, look at this thing I got. Bent one of the lenses backwards. I had to throw them away.
Luckily, they're cheap sunglasses for this reason exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. Neglected dog of the week. No one has really been no effort this week.
No.
All right, we're just not going to name one then.
Bank has been closed.
No, she doesn't get it. She's got hot spots. All right. This has been a long list of dog issues. The Taste of the Keys is just an announcement that on December 18th, the 13th 5K Rudolph Red-Nosed Run, the PJ edition, is happening in Key West. You have to wear your holiday jammies.
For 13 kilometers?
No, it's the 13th 5K.
Oh, 5K.
It's a 5K.
Oof.
5K in your jammies.
So warm.
Festive holiday jammies. We can get jammies that are like shorts and a little button-up shirt.
I do have some like tidies.
Don't
Those are boxers, I guess. That doesn't count.
I'll buy you some PJs.
No, it's okay.
Nope, you're going to show up inappropriately dressed if I don't do this.
Wait, you're going to run it?
I mean, maybe. There's not many races in Key West, not even 5Ks.
That's true. All right.
And you get to wear your jammies.
All right. PJ run. Fine. As long as
So
it
they're
takes
starting
less.
at the Southernmost Beach Cafe. Check-in starts at 7, so you just get out of bed, go. After the race, enjoy refreshments, prizes, and a fabulous silent auction.
While you're in your PJs, all sweaty.
Yeah, festive PJs.
All right.
They
Festive.
run,
They have to be
walk,
ugly
fun.
Christmas PJs would be the winners.
Yeah. I don't
All
know
right,
that there's a contest.
We'll see.
Oh, you get a T-shirt. First 100 registrants get a T-shirt.
Whoa.
So, if you want to come down to the Keys in December 18th,
Bring
Rudolph
your PJs.
the Red-Nosed Run PJ edition.
Bring your Christmas PJs, but you might anyway because,
Yeah, it's
you
Christmas time.
Sleep in PJs, or maybe that's how you get your presents on Christmas days in your PJs.
You get German word of the week.
I think we've talked about it. There's a German word for walking. There's a German word for hiking. There's a German word for going.
I have been practicing my German. I'm really trying to nail down a bunch of my German this academic year. And I was working through something and I write down phrases. I'm like, I was on a plane, so I didn't have any internet, but I'm like, translate this phrase to practice some other word. And I think the phrase I was going to practice is perhaps we will go for a walk, or we should go for a walk, or perhaps we go for a walk. And they're like, oh, the German word for walk is, this app is like gehen, which is the word for go. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I didn't think that was the word for walk, but okay. And then I'm like, I translated in Google Translate, and it's like spazieren gehen. Mm-hmm. That's a different word. And then there's also laufen. So I go into the bedroom. I'm like, Ingo, there are 3 words for walking. Which one do I use in which case? So spazieren gehen is to go for a walk.
Yes, to actually take a walk. To formally go for a walk is spazieren gehen.
Like with a dog.
Because the noun is Spaziergang.
Which is go around, literally translated.
Sort of. Spazieren is, yes. So, Gehe spazieren is to go for a walk. Gehen is just walking. That could be going to the next room or walking,
Yeah, how do you get to school?
Yeah, ich gehe as opposed to ich fahre.
Which is also the same as I go.
Yes, it is.
And then there's also not different words for walk and run.
Laufen, which is, I was trying to figure it out. Laufen can mean running. Like Dauerlaufen is the word for jogging.
Yeah.
But laufen as opposed to drive, fahren is walking instead of instead of driving.
This has gotten more complicated than our non-German speaking listeners need.
It's very complicated.
Spazieren gehen is to go for a walk.
But not to walk.
No,
it's to go for a walk. It's very technical.
Spazieren gehen.
Spazieren gehen.
Mm-hmm. Gehen wir spazieren.
Ja.
And maybe we'll go for a walk.
Wir machen einen Spaziergang.
German, man, it's
complicated.
I feel like I get the basics down, and then I just want to say go for a walk, and then it gets so complicated.
You did open that can of worms.
Yep. Now if we ever have to talk about walking when we go to Germany, I am gonna have it. I'm great. I'm good.
You're gonna kick butt. All you're gonna want to talk about is walking.
Yeah, I'd be like, guys, do you know how much I walk? I go for walks. I walk around. I walk from this place to this other place.
Look, I'm walking right now.
Am I running or walking? You can't tell because it's the same verb.
Laufen, ich laufe.
All right. We should tend to the Vodes.
Vodes has unmet psychological needs.
We will keep everybody updated on hops and everything, but it probably, he said 4 to 5 days, I think, for the biopsy. So it'll be next week before we have results. Until then, don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.